Hello, everybody. We are live at Tech Excellence podcast, where we discuss all the things connected to tech and how you can deliver excellent tech using very different tools and completely different perspectives. And today I am joined by Marta Fydrych-Gąsowska, cybersecurity expert. Hello, Marta. Nice to have you here.
Hello, thank you very much.
Most of the people here probably know you because of your involvement in different topics connected to information security, risk assessment, ethics in technology. However, what I observed in your LinkedIn bio is the phrase humanist in IT. And I thought it's really intriguing and interesting. So maybe before we jump into today's topic of balancing profit and ethics in technology, you could elaborate more about that headline that you're using.
Of course, thank you. So yes, I can say that I define myself yes as a humanist in IT because yes I have strong humanistic background and education, and it always last with me because I was always interested also in psychology, or I can say social aspects of tech, and I have to admit that when I became a mother, and then I saw this crash between kids and tech. And then I started to think more about ethics of this tech, how it's like, and this, and if tech companies really care about people and especially children. Yes, and my
Okay, so
observations
mhm.
aren't
So
aren't.
it was your personal experience that drove you to that topic.
Exactly.
However, with information security risk assessments, it started before you got interested in ethics in tech.
Yes, and I have to admit that my background, my education is in law, and I
Mhm.
became information security specialist completely by I can say by accident. Yes, and then I saw that this world of this security standards and all this security environment is really fascinating for me. So I just make my how can I say reskilling, yes, and came to this new domain, yes, and here I am.
Okay,
Next
and
year
I'm
it will
really,
be 10
really
years.
glad you're here with all of your observations and your interesting insights, because what we're going to discuss today, like, are a variety of topics, mostly the ethical and unethical activities of different tech companies and examples of companies that actually care about human and balance it with the profit. There are a few other things that we are going to cover. However, I would start with the unethical practices that are happening within the tech space, because you are observing the space carefully. You're dealing with different companies and different clients. So I'm curious about like the most common ones that you notice that are occurring within the space.
Yes, we can divide these practices in two types. One is when a company intentionally ignore customers, ignore data, personal data subjects, yes, as we are also called as customers, and set many invasive techniques just in our daily life. Yes, for example, recently when I was in Krakow, I saw in one of shopping malls in the restroom in
Mm-hmm.
the in the window no in the window in the mirror there was installed a whole system for the advertisement depending on I don't know what are exact criteria, beside the sex, but there was something like this, that you can show your advertisement to all or to selected ones. Yes. So I don't know what criteria they take into account when they show their advertisements in the restroom anyway, restroom mirror. So it's, for
Yeah, and
me,
it's such a private space.
yes,
And there are apps
exactly.
there anyway, yeah, because
Yes,
back in the day, like 5 or 10 years ago, all you could do in the restroom was maybe put a poster or something like that. And now there's this customized
yes.
advertisement there. Kind
And
of
you know,
scary. I mean,
yes,
personally, I am not offended by customization when I see ads. I even appreciate it to some extent. But in the restroom, yeah, I believe this is quite invasive and
exactly,
disturbing, I would say.
exactly. The more than if it is like this, they select certain criteria, so it means that something behind this mirror is observing you and profiling your
Without my
emotions.
consent, actually.
Exactly, exactly.
Unless I will just not go to use the restroom and fulfill one of the basic human needs. Yeah.
Yeah, this
So
is
yeah, that's quite disturbing. So it's one of the examples of, let's say, like a very like not ethical
Mhm.
behavior.
Yeah.
Anything else that comes to your mind that like struck you recently?
The second, I can say about the second type of this unethical practices. This is when company just uh, uh, mm, put in the market her product just as it is, and then after some time there come they see that there are some creepy, as we can say, creepy outcomes. For example, it was like this with filters on Instagram that were previously, at the very beginning, they were installed just to make fun. You could have a face of a dog, of a bunny, it was a fun. But then they started to improve the beauty by by these filters, and that was a problem because there are reports made also by, for example, MIT, where it is proven that these beauty filters are really, really harmful for girls' self-esteem. And what is more creepy even, so this is harmful, especially for girls in these younger ones, this 9, 11, in this age about.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the company, and why it is a unethical approach, because the company Meta doesn't do anything about it. They know about it, but the money that they receive from their business is too big regarding the cost of change. It's just a little change of algorithm. In fact, it's
Mm-hmm.
not a problem of technology, of possibility, of technical possibility. It's a problem of will, of their goodwill.
Okay, so if they adjusted something to make it more, let's say, beneficial for a younger user, they would lose money, and they consciously decide not to do anything so
Yeah,
as not to threat the profits. Yeah, it sounds like pretty much unethical. And there's one more aspect that I believe could be discussed here, and it's like the attention, um, because a lot of apps nowadays are designed in a way that grabs our attention all the time continuously. And I think it's also like, obviously it is within the company's interest to have our attention for as long as possible. They profit from that, but where's the line here? Yeah, because sometimes it seems like some apps, even the Instagram that you mentioned, they praise the user for spending more and more time within the app, and they punish you if you do not check it regularly. So I believe this is also another unethical, like, let's say, behavior. Maybe it falls under one of the categories that you, maybe even under both. How do you think?
yeah, this is it. Because it's I would say that with our attention span, it's a case that we can locate in between, uh, because it was like this that previously, at the very beginning, the companies just created their digital platforms, and they wanted users to use them as long as they wanted. Yes, uh,
Mm-hmm.
as long as it was only possible, and it was their business model, and it had nothing to do with our problems now today. Why? Because there was a time, and they didn't know the results that their platforms will bring to us in the future. This is also a cause of lack of risk assessment made at the very beginning, that should be done at the very beginning, and then constantly in the process. Yes, during the platforms were deployed. Uh, but this is one case. The problem is that even after years of these platforms functioning, when some ethical experts, for example, like Tristan Harris in Google, said, "Okay, I see these effects are disturbing, are damaging for our users, for this kind of design of products. Let's
Mm-hmm.
change it. Just make this algorithm more user friendly, just to respect the user's attention." And what happened? He had a great presentation. It was really wonderfully shown in this movie, Social Dilemma. He made a great presentation, and nothing happened
Mm-hmm.
completely. uh, because it's like this, that when they saw that the results that how can I say, that the users attention is lower, uh, but it brings them money, so it's better to do nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also a trap of how can I say quarterly KPIs, because every
Okay.
manager has his quarter KPIs, and he has no user attention as a target, but
Mm-hmm.
and users that are online. And even if any developer, an ethical developer, would make a change in this algorithm just to make it more user friendly,
Mm-hmm.
and after a quarter, for example, his manager will come and see, wait a minute, why we have so little users? It's
Yeah,
much.
why are they dropping?
Yes, why they are dropping? No, no, no. Let's change it. Let's remove
Mm-hmm.
your changes, because we see that there's something wrong with our audience.
Okay, so the decisions should come from the above. And it's
Exactly.
extremely difficult within, especially within like a huge company, for an individual to change anything. Yeah, this is something that should be like the mission of the company.
That is it. That is it
Yeah,
exactly. Because
because
mhm,
mm, mm,
the results of lack of our attention can be really serious, because it's not only that I cannot concentrate on the piece of paper, yes, and I cannot read long text. It's not only this, because lack of attention, uh, it causes that we are more prone for phishing and other social engineering techniques. This is also that it is also how can I say, danger for our democracy, because you don't under you if you are not aware, if you are not attentive, if you are not mindful, uh, you start not to understand what's good and what's bad. So on
mhm.
the political level, it's really very dangerous.
Okay, so there are much broader results of such activities, like putting that profit, putting KPIs over the human. It's like a very, let's say, social aspect. It's a political aspect as well that is affected. So who should be responsible? Because obviously one side it's us the users, like we can choose to some extent, obviously, because addiction is something outside of our control. If it happens, it happens, and it's extremely difficult to break it. Then it's the companies that we can, like, let's say, trust that some of them will deploy the right practices, but the others won't. So maybe it's like something that should be legally regulated.
Yes, it's about regulation also, but with regulation there is a problem because legal regulations will be always just after technology. This is natural, because and it's like this that Kevin Kelly wrote a really great sentence that technology is like a water because you can ban something regulated in the one piece of work,
And
but in
then
a
it will leak somewhere else.
exactly. So
So the most of the responsibility is actually on the creators of technology.
that is true. That is
So
true.
maybe there are some um, companies that are worth looking up to because they are actually ethical. Like, are there any examples? Because now it seems like everything is scary, we're all getting addicted, and the companies are just doing it for the profit. But I believe that the world is a good place
Hmm.
still. So maybe there are some examples of the companies that that actually claim to put like some kind of an, like, let's say, um, balance here.
Yes, definitely. I can say about some of them.
Yeah,
Uh,
because we don't want to fearmonger on everybody, and also we don't want to point fingers at Meta and everything else. Like, maybe there are good examples that people can get inspired by.
yes. Okay. So I will start with some privacy enhancing companies, and then I will have a surprise also.
Okay.
But yes, there is, for example, there's a lot of companies that are privacy friendly. And for example, there is a Proton, there is a Brave browser. Uh, mm, okay, so let's just concentrate on this both. Yes. So one of them, Proton, brings to his clients to its clients privacy friendly email box, VPN, privacy enhancing drive, and some other products. And that is it. That they not only say that they respect our privacy, but they really do it. I read their newsletter and I see that in every product, every month, they upgrade the levels of the security. Yes, and they say we don't track you, we don't see what you're writing about in your emails. We don't know what you are storing at our drive. Uh, it's yours, and it's your
Mhm.
secret, and we respect it. And um, a lot of people that I know, and then I see on their public profiles on social media, they have really a lot of clients that come today because they offer really well.
Protected
Yes,
services.
protected services. That is why, because they say we respect you. Yes,
Hmm.
that is it. And the same with the Brave browser that also uh, is how can I say, is used in a wider space that we would expect. Yes,
Hmm.
it also respect the privacy of its user and don't track. And it's true that if you write something in Brave, you after 2 3 days, or even after a few hours, you will have to write it again because they don't save it
Don't store
anywhere.
that data. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, and I'll definitely give it a try to check if I, as a user, can feel any difference. Okay, so are there any other examples that you could share?
Yes, and the last one that I was also surprised when I read it for the first time, it's a Salesforce. And recently I found a report of a World Economic Forum. It was a white paper where they wrote a whole white paper on Salesforce ethical practices. That they started it in 2019, and for example, they established guiding principles not only with the board management, not only with experts, but with whole employees. And also then they also validated it with more than 2,000 of clients and customers. And for example, they created a catalog of values that are really important for them in the company. And it was human rights, privacy, safety, honesty, and inclusion. So and as I observe also them and some people working in Salesforce, they really manage it.
Okay, that's quite inspiring, I would say. And it actually proves that, such a successful and a known company can be known and successful without violating the privacy data. So, because here I would like to smoothly get to the topic of that balance of profit and ethics, because for any technology in this world to develop, all it needs is like to generate profit so that there was enough money to develop it further. So I'm wondering, isn't it a conflict between like that's urge to generate growth and actually the ethical considerations? Where's the balance here?
No, in my opinion, there's no conflict between it. Because, for example, uh, there's something like a pro-auctionary principle that I wrote it that I read it in the really magnificent book of Natalia Hatalska, The Age of Paradoxes, and she writes that the pro-auctionary principle uh, assumes that the technological development brings us benefits, brings benefits to humanity, so it should be maximized. But in the same time, we should educate society about
Mhm.
possible threats and negative consequences. So it's like this: that if company uh, if company brings her new product to the market, it deploy it, and then during its life, it permanently make how can I say safety checks, and the
Mhm.
safety checks.
So reassessing if it's actually safe
Exactly.
as they go and as they get feedback from the users, for example.
Excuse me, I will
Sure.
double check. Okay, so I will change the telephone. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, and we assess it, yes, constantly all the time to see the results. And if I can just bring some more details about
Hmm.
this principle, because it's not well known, but it's really practical, and it's really I think it's good for all stakeholders
Hmm.
uh, to apply it, because it assumes that the company will use foresight to describe at each level of the product life cycle its possible negative consequences and harms. There is an ongoing assessment on the technology in terms of possible threats it poses. Also, uh, there is also a rapid remediation of harms and risk prioritization. So if something happens now, so we
Hmm.
don't think about mitigating risks in a far future. Yes,
Okay, because we already have some sort of formula in case it happens.
yes, exactly. And the last but not least, transparency and openness to all stakeholders. Yes, that this product is still maybe not an open source because not all want to keep this model, in their business, but it's open for the opinions, yes, and for the interests of all these stakeholders, not only shareholders.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful statement, not only to focus on shareholders, but on all stakeholders. It's a funny, like, like the, let's say, connotation of the words, but it's actually pretty accurate that sometimes that's a trap if the companies focus on the KPIs because there is somebody out there waiting for the financial results, but then there is this severe effect caused on the society, on the users, and users are the society. So yeah, definitely the principle you've mentioned is worth taking into consideration. And mm, are there any other like guidelines or frameworks that should be adopted in the tech industry that come to your mind?
Yeah, I think that every company that would like to be really ethical, not only the so-called greenwashing, so should go the way of Salesforce, just to ask all their stakeholders, employees, external experts, and also customers, what values are important for you. Yes, uh,
Mm-hmm.
mm, just in this way, and just because we know that law will always go just after the technology, and there is also a problem that the law has a problem with definitions, because you can have a product that will have the functions of this what is prohibited, but it will not be included in this definition of in this legal
Mm-hmm.
definition. So
So there
the,
would be like a loophole in the
yes,
legislation.
yes, exactly, and it's very, very likely that something like this would be. That is why. That is why I think that companies just should by themselves all but, by them regulate by themselves internally and also in their communities. Uh, just to make it together, if law cannot be for us as elastic, as agile as we need it. So just
Mm-hmm.
regulate ourselves. This so-called soft law. But there
Mm-hmm.
is also need of goodwill.
Okay. Um, yeah, that was all really interesting and definitely worth reviewing for most of the companies, whether they like do like apply the framework that you discussed before. I would like to get back to the topic of tech addiction because it seems like one of the most severe effects of those unethical practices that the companies just keep on doing. And I think the global effects, the social effects are the most severe as well, because like we are the nation of people addicted to their phones and glued to their phones. And I'm wondering what steps can tech companies take to ensure their products are designed in a way that is, let's say, profitable but not addictive. What should be taken into consideration here? Because again, it's a fine line. Yeah, they profit from people using the technology for as long as possible, and then it can cause a lot of damage. So what's the fine line here? What are the practices that are worth taking into consideration as a tech company designing a product?
Okay. So I think that from one side, this precautionary principles would work here really great.
So
And
predicting what could happen and finding resolution before it even happens.
yes, yes, and then educating also
Mhm.
clients. Yes, for example, recently, I didn't read it yet, but there's a book of Joanna Glogaza. Uh, uh, it is called. Wait a minute. It is called Attention Economy.
Mhm.
How not to scroll your life. And she proposed something. as easy. That is that is genius, because she proposed a wallpaper on a phone that every time when you will take your phone and you open it, and you turn it on and you turn it on, just there's a wallpaper. What have you done? What you have to do in here? Yes.
So
So
like a kind
simple.
reminder to be mindful. But again, it puts the responsibility on the user at the end of the day. So it's up to us, the users,
Yes,
the end users. But
but
on the other hand, we vote with our attention, yeah? So maybe if it's us, the end users, who change the way we use the technology, it also changes the way it is designed.
um, it's we all, yes, it's like this, that we you are right, that we vote with our attention. So it's by us to choose products that we feel well with. Yes, that
Hmm.
we feel that respect our basic needs, uh,
Hmm.
our values, and us. Yes, as humans. So it's just to choose. Yes. So this is it. What can we do? Yes, because I want to say one more thing. There are a few authors uh, who are known that they first they wrote guides for developers how to develop mm, products that are the most addictive as possible, how to glue the users possible prospective users to your products, how to design it, and then they wrote books for users how not to distract. So now for me it's a two-faced approach.
And a
uh,
red flag, I would say.
yes, exactly. So it's not like this that only we as users, as end users, we can do anything. Yes, that is only our responsibility. We have to
Hmm.
see that there is a part for us, for example, just to practice mindfulness or make something that make us calm,
Hmm.
but it's not the only it's not the only way. Yes, that
Hmm.
there is also the second side. It's the companies.
Yeah, the
The-
creators. Yeah, because that would be unfair to put all the responsibility onto the users, especially that we're this tiny in comparison to all those mechanisms that make us addicted. So basically, legally, it's quite difficult to regulate it. From the user's perspective, it's just a small action. So most of the responsibility is on the creators,
on designers, yes.
on the designers, on the creators. So what is the way forward? You said education, you said foreseeing the possible harmful effects and maybe thinking about the solutions before they happen. Is there anything else that like people should take away from this conversation, especially if they are creating some technology?
Exactly.
what's
So this
what's
is,
the way forward with that?
yeah. So definitely creating foresight and creating possible scenarios. What can go wrong? Because
Hmm.
when we make a new product, uh, we concentrate on this only bright sides. Yes, we imagine how it would be wonderful, but
How profitable, growing, successful, glamorous.
yes, yes, but we should make scenario planning, scenario creating with every possible, plausible, and preferable scenarios, and see what they will bring us, and just
Hmm.
embrace it, whatever the result will be. So this is the first step. Uh, when we start when we start developing, designing, yes, our product, what can go wrong? And
Hmm.
then I see a really huge role of education, because this wallpaper. What are you going to do here? Proposed by this writer. Why it can't be used by companies? You know,
Hmm.
For example, Johan Hari, in his book Stolen Focus, he asks the question, why on Facebook there is no button meet with friends offline in the real life?
Mm-hmm.
Because Facebook is about relations, it's about meeting people. So why this platform cannot
Remind the users, yeah.
this? Yes, because it won't happen online. That is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it. Just uh, not seeing this time spent in front of the application, but seeing the human that is looking for
Mm-hmm.
it. Yes. And for example, recently, I will give you an example. I had a recently situation like this. I learned Swedish on Duolingo, and there is a competition. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
who will get more points, and mm, it was a Sunday, and there was a final day, and I
Mm-hmm.
had and I was in a demotion area because that week I learned really small, yes, a little. So I had a choice. I will fall down to the previous league with
Mm-hmm.
only a few points, but I will spend time with my daughter, with my family, and this is it. What is really important for me, and I will or I will spend this time with only with a phone in my hand.
And
Keep
that little avatar of an owl who tells you
yes,
keep up the good job.
yes. Telling to my daughter, sorry, I have to learn Swedish. Yes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it wasn't the technology, if it was just a textbook, probably there wouldn't be the dilemma, yeah? And everybody would choose spending time with their family. And with technology that is so tempting, there's this gamification
yes,
and some instant gratification, because if you have enough points, like you have some kind of a confetti there and the nice sounds to praise you for that. I think that's the difference between learning in the digital era and the textbook era, that it wasn't so rewarding back then. So obviously it's beneficial for people who need extra motivation, but on the other hand it can be, let's say, a double-edged sword, because well, actually I had a similar example last night, because my son is using Duolingo and he's very, let's say, serious about it. So, and he's sick right now, he has a terrible flu, and he was just laying down in his bed with a fever. And then he told me, Mom, but you need to bring my phone here because I will lose my Duolingo streak. And here's, I think, that fine line between, okay, that's motivation for learning languages. And I felt, yeah, that's great that he's so motivated. When I was 10, I had no motivation to learn languages, because, you're not a logical person when you're 10 and you don't think, okay, I will use it in the future. Yeah. And now the kids have that little animal telling them that, yeah, you're great, keep on doing that. But there's real life, there's like time for recovery. So sometimes technology is not responsible enough to let people have a rest.
exactly. And this is it. That to see this is this point to see users as people, as humans who has their family, they need to spend time with them, who needs to go out, meet with people outside in a real life, because this is what give us really satisfaction and what make our brain really happy. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also that this because I think that we don't have so much time now, but I want to say one more thing that
Okay.
uh, there is a story. I don't know how true it is because I don't know anybody in Silicon Valley, but I heard that the CEOs and other bosses of tech companies in Silicon Valley don't let their children use the products they produce, and they send their children to offline schools, completely, in forests, um, and without technology. So yes, if I would ask one question to the entrepreneur who would like to ask himself. if he's or her is ethical in his work. So it will be this question: would you give your product to your children without any hesitation?
Oh yeah, and that's a powerful one. And I believe for like the B2C companies, that's definitely like the basic question to ask. If you're creating tech that is like there for the consumers, especially for entertainment or education, I I think it's a powerful question to ask yourself. Yeah, for all the designers, for all the authors of the apps. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a perfect closing thought on balancing profit and ethics in technology. Ask like the human question. Yeah, would you give this technology to a person that you love without any hesitation? Okay, so we covered a lot of different areas, and I believe this topic is so deep on so many levels that we could just go on for hours, but we don't have that much time, but definitely something worth exploring. So, to all of you who listened to us today, if you have any questions, you can either post them in the chat right now before we switch off, or you can tag me or Marta in the comments section, and we will try to get back to you with some answers. So yeah, I believe there are no questions so far when we're live, but don't hesitate to ask afterwards, and we'll try to get back to you with either sources of information or maybe recommendations of people to reach out to if we know them. Okay, Marta, thank you very much. That was really insightful, and it opened a lot of other topics that I would like to have discussed in this podcast in the future episodes. So, to all of you listening to us, thank you very much for your attention. Make sure to subscribe to us to be up to date with other experts visiting our podcast. Yeah, and I wish you a great and a mindful day. Keep on making responsible technology. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Bye.